Do you remember the first time that you watched Bambi? I mean, the old version of Bambi. Or sat with a child on your lap with a picture book with the most exquisite watercolor illustrations. Those soft greens, misty blues, the warm glow of a farmhouse at dusk. Now think about what's on screen next time you walk past a child watching something. Chances are it's loud, it's bright, and it's fast. Characters are bouncing off the walls, colors are screaming at you, and the scene changes before you've even had time to realize what's just happened. There's something uncomfortable about that comparison, isn't there? It is for me. And I don't think that we should be brushing that off. Today, I want to talk about beauty, what it does for children, what we've lost, and what we can do about it. Because this isn't just about aesthetics. The research actually tells us that there are real consequences for children's developing brains. We used to know how to make things beautiful for children. Cast your mind back to the old shows. Now, some of you might be a bit young for this, but you can always look these up on YouTube. We used to watch things like Heidi and the Waltons, A Little House on the Prairie, even something like the Teletubbies, right? And those early Disney films, the colors were warm and they were muted. The pacing was slow enough for a child to actually feel something. The illustrations were gorgeous, hand-painted, carefully composed, full of detail that really rewarded a second look. I recently saw a wonderful article on Substack, which actually sparked this whole recording. It was called The Colors of Childhood, Bauhaus, Crayola, and the History of the Ugly Primary. And I want to encourage every parent and teacher out there to go and read it. I'll leave a link for you in the show notes. Because it traces exactly how we have arrived at this world of garish primary colors dominating children's spaces, products, and screens. And it made me think, and I really hope it'll make you think too. The shift didn't happen overnight, but somewhere along the way, the assumption took hold that children needed things to be louder, brighter, faster, to hold their attention. And the children's media and product industry ran with it. And if you walk into most early childhood classrooms today, you'll find red chairs, yellow tables, blue shelves, an orange rug, all at full saturation, all competing with each other. Primary colors everywhere. And we've just accepted this as normal, as right even. But is it? What the research actually says, let's start with screens, because this is where things get serious. Now, a landmark study published in Pediatrics, I'll leave a link for you in the show notes, found that just 9 minutes of watching a fast-paced cartoon was enough to significantly impair a 4-year-old's executive function and their ability to focus, that's to regulate themselves, to remember instructions, and to solve problems. Compared to children who either watched a slower education program or who simply just drew for the same amount of time. 9 minutes, that's nothing. The researchers also noted that it wasn't just the pace, it's also the fantastical and unpredictable nature of the content. When a child's brain constantly has to orientate itself to new and unexpected impossible events, it depletes cognitive resources. There's nothing left for the task of actually thinking. Think about what Cocomelon's doing. The constant singing, the scene changes every few seconds, the hyper-saturated colors, the relentless, cheerful chaos. Compare that to Puff and Rock, narrated gently by Chris O'Dowd, following real animals through the seasons. The contrast isn't subtle. And here's the thing that concerns me most. Children who are regularly overstimulated by fast-paced content find it increasingly hard to engage with slower-paced activities in the real world, things like reading or completing puzzles or listening to the teacher. Their brain gets calibrated to expect constant stimulation, and then everything else by comparison seems boring. Now let's talk about color, because it's not just about screens. It's also about the rooms the children are learning in too. Research conducted with preschoolers found that playing on a colorful surface showed significantly more disruptive behaviors like frustration, difficulty concentrating, dropping things, losing track of what they were doing, compared to children just playing on a plain white background. The researchers concluded that this excess of bright contrasting hues was simply hijacking children's attention. Their brains simply couldn't filter it out. A further study showed that children in heavily decorated classrooms actually achieved lower scores than children in more sparsely decorated ones. And that reminds me of looking at classrooms in Finland. I've always noticed that they really are undecorated, very sparsely decorated. And I wondered if that doesn't have something to do with their high learning scores. Now, brain research also tells us that using more than 6 colors in a classroom environment can distract learners negatively and affect their ability to absorb information. And yet, if you look at the average early childhood classroom, I'm talking about the walls, the furniture, the displays, the rugs, the storage boxes, you'll count far more than 6 competing colors before you've even reached the book corner. Soft blues and greens, on the other hand, are consistently linked to reduced anxiety, better concentration, and greater sense of calm. Gentle, muted tones don't fight for attention. They allow the attention to settle somewhere meaningful. In classical education, we talk about the true, the good, and the beautiful as things worth pursuing, not as luxuries, but as necessities for a fully formed human being. Beauty is not frivolous, it's formative. When a child spends their day surrounded by beautiful things, gentle illustrations, natural materials, thoughtful colors, stories told at a pace that allow them to breathe, something is being cultivated in them, a sense of what's worth attending to, a capacity for stillness. When we fill every surface and every screen with noise and brightness and movement, we're not enriching children. We're overwhelming them. And over time, we may be making it harder for them to find the quiet things beautiful at all. It's worth talking about at home, in our classrooms, and in our choices we make about what we put in front of children every single day. If this has got you thinking, and I hope it has, I'd love you to head over to Blooming Curious, to the blog where I've written an article on how to create inspiring indoor spaces for children. I'll leave a link for you in the show notes. It comes also with a free download, which allows you to think about how you set up your indoor spaces for the children that you teach. Because our children deserve spaces that are calm, that are considered, and that are genuinely beautiful. Let's start there. If you enjoyed today's episode, I'd love you to subscribe if you're here on YouTube, or if you're listening on the podcast, follow along. And if you find anything that I have to say interesting, or just they give you something to think about, then leave a review and share it with someone that you know. That's the only way actually that we help the show to grow. That would be awesome if you could do that. And leave a review too. So until next week, take care of yourself and be blooming curious.